The Jazz are a team that I've said on past podcasts. I mean, they were close last year to the playoffs. They can make it this year, and they may have to make it because they got a guy in Gordon Hayward that could be getting sniped by some teams, maybe even the Celtics.
Yeah, the Celtics were talks. The 76ers were talks. There's a lot of teams interested in Gordon Hayward.
The Celtics are the team because then Gordon Hayward gets to play with his old coach from college.
I mean, that would be nice.
The Butler connection. But you're apparently high on the Jazz just because you have them overtaken the Trailblazers.
I do. Look, they have talent across the board. They've had a lot of people grow, and they're a deep team. My big thing is Hayward has been doing it like year in, year out. I love him. But honestly, look, let's be honest. Derek Favors is making that step. Rudy Gobert was fantastic last year. And you bring in Joe Johnson to bring that veteran leadership on this team. It's the right move. And George Hill even. Look, the two guys they filled in, George Hill, Joe Johnson, there were the two problems last year. So now their starting five is Hill, Hayward, Johnson, Favors, and Gobert. That's really, really good. Like, you can't argue that. Gobert is primed to take off this year. Derek Favors was dominant down low. Joe Johnson, okay, he's older, but he brings that veteran savvy in the same way that like a Luol Deng. And he actually, both of them, of course, thanks Miami for letting just clearing house there. Gordon Hayward, look, stud, just that easy. And Hill is a vast improvement. And then on the bench, you still got Rodney Hood, up and coming, dropping buckets. He just dumps points in. I like this team. I think that if they don't make the playoffs this year with like 45 wins, I expect 45 minimum. It's only a 5-win difference from last year. They got to get better on the road, obviously. But look, they've got all the talent they need to be a playoff team and be a legit threat because I really do like the combo of Favors and Gobert. I think Hayward is a stud. I don't know what else I can say about this team. I'm really, really a huge fan of them going forward.
Yeah, and I mean, the one guy I kind of look at, and I mean, it's going to be interesting to see because George Hill comes in.
Right.
He's going to be the starter. But now a Dante Exum. And I kind of feel like it was one of those things where maybe you were asking too much of a young kid who he had some injury questions, some injury concerns. And now it's like, hey, you know what? You can just be our backup, be good enough to be our backup. And really, I look at, like, can he step up more so from the... I mean, he averaged 22 minutes last year.
No, 2 years ago.
2 years ago, he was averaging 5 a game and just under 2 rebounds a game. So he even missed an entire season. It was like 5, 2, and 2.
Yeah.
So now coming back from injury, it's like, you know what? We don't need you to rush back. Just be our backup right behind George Hill.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good position for him. And because of Rodney Hood's versatility, I think that kind of covers up for some of that, the downcomings or the possibility that Dante Exum maybe isn't the final solution at point guard for them in the future because Hood is a versatile player. So
you're saying, let me make this correct.
Let me be clear, Dave.
Let me be clear that you would put Rodney Hood as a backup point guard.
I'm just saying he's versatile enough.
In case Exum can't go and you don't have to go with Shelvin Mack.
No, I like Mac better. He's a better distributor. He's got better court vision. Hood is too quick to chuck. But look, that's God. Yeah, I like this team. It's pure depth at shooting guard because you got Hayward, Hood, and then even Alex Burks. So they've got a lot of guys. They've got all the talent they need in the starting five. They've got that good mix of veterans and younger talent. Like all the stars seem to line up that this should be a playoff team that's going to compete. I don't know if they can compete against the best in the best team on paper that we've ever seen in existence, but they're going to be good. I can tell you that they're going to be good.
Here's the last question before we move on into the last team we've got to touch for this division in the Denver Nuggets. I'm going to break down this for you. Let's say the Jazz don't make the playoffs this year. If they do not make the playoffs, does Gordon Hayward opt out this year?
It's hard to say because
he's got a player option to play one more.
Hayward is one of those guys.
Is he loyal enough to Utah that even if they don't make the playoffs, would he opt in? If they make the playoffs, I think it's easy. He opts in.
If they don't make the playoffs and it's not because of some catastrophe of an injury, I would leave if I was Gordon Hayward. I'll be honest, I would.
And where would you leave
because
to?
you got Rodney Hood behind you, and then you know there's no love lost. They're going to go with Hood because he's younger.
Well, they've got Hood and Burks.
That's what I'm saying.
Both
Like
behind you.
Like, look, as special as Gordon Hayward is, the franchise is already stacked at the position, so they're not overly attached. Of course, they're going to try everything they can to keep him, but if I was him, I would take my money and walk if I don't make the playoffs.
Can we start the Hayward to Boston chance?
You really want that to happen, don't you?
If he leaves Utah, I would love to see him back with. I think it's the perfect fit because it's a coach that he knows. And man, the thing with Boston, I don't want to make this an Eastern discussion again. But
So what? Bradley goes?
Well, if they could grab a guy, if they could grab a guy like Hayward, and right now I kind of think like the Celtics are that team where it's like, oh, we're good to be in the playoffs, but we might need that one, not superstar, because Al Horford, you could kind of say is a superstar.
Isaiah Thomas is more superstar than Al Horford.
But that
I'm sorry
one
at this
talent to take you above and beyond and maybe form your own official big three, because that seems like the thing now for the NBA.
Yeah. But they've got a young guy in Jaylen Brown who we all need to see how he pans out.
Let's see. I'm not really high on
I know,
Brown.
but he was a top pick for a reason. The guy's built like a stud. He's an athlete through and through. He's got the physicals that you need to be a top level player in the NBA. He needs to build up his game though.
I'm
not
saying they're the same, Dave, but Be Easy was the top
Be
five
Easy couldn't put down the Dutch.
It's like you said to me today before the podcast, and this was just bull fan to bull fan, was, could you imagine how our franchise would have been different if we would have went with Be Easy instead of D Rose?
It would be very different. I don't know. I don't even know.
Could you
that'd just be
imagine
bizarre.
D Wade and D Rose? What that would have been like.
No knees in Miami. No knees.
Well, the big three, it would have been exactly like the Celtics.
Yeah.
And Derrick Rose would have been Rondo.
It would be interesting.
Would have been Rondo. But let's move on to the last team in this division, the Denver Nuggets. And before, the one thing I left off on the Jazz that I kind of want to bring into this and kind of ultimately bring it into our rankings for this week when we're done with the Nuggets is the most interesting thing with these two teams are their coaches to me.
Yeah.
Because with the Nuggets, you got Mike Malone, who entering his second year with the team. Quinn Snyder, a guy in Utah that Sean in his rankings was very high on.
Yeah.
Very high on. And the reason why I wanted to touch these two now is we're not going to touch them in the rankings because we're mostly going to focus on
that
top 10 in that segment. But I feel like with the Nuggets, this is Mike Malone where it's like, hey, you know what? You got to do something with this young talent. And for Quinn Snyder, on the other hand, it's like, hey, you got to make the playoffs, man. Not necessarily like for Quinn Snyder, it's not like if you don't make the playoffs, you're going to get fired. But for me, before I could put you higher on my rankings, you got to show me a little bit something. For Mike Malone, it may be, hey, you got to show me what you can do with this team, or else you may not have a job here next year.
I am in the same line of thinking. I think that he is on a hot seat right off the bat. This is a team that, again, they had a lot of draft picks, a lot of good draft picks because they weren't very good for a long time. Danila stepped up huge last year. He jumped his point total up because of injuries around the rest of the team. Gave him that chance. He became the numero uno scoring option. Jokic, stud. Like, we watched him grow so much in 1 year. And I think that he is trying to make the case that he's going to be one of the best centers in the league by the end of this year. I like the team, but I don't know if they're going to be very successful. Again, I just don't feel like Moutier is the right answer. I feel like he's a bust. I'm gonna go ahead and say in my mind he will be a bust. I don't think he's ever gonna develop to the expectations that I want him to be. Freed, he's a beast down low, but between him and Gallinari, like, they don't have a very good balance.
Let me ask you one thing about Moutier. You say that you think he's going to be a bust.
Yep.
And the first thing I think of...
It's rough.
Well, the first thing I kind of think of is he was a guy that instead of going to college, went to play overseas. Do you think that guys who are from the U.S., if Moutier ends up being a bust, then they see that as, you know what, I can't go overseas because if I go overseas, it's not the same thing as like a Ricky Rubio who has already played there and he's been there. I got to go to college because that's my better route. No,
I think the overseas was an interesting move. I think he grew more as a person than he did as a basketball player.
Well, he had to grow up. He was living in a
foreign country,
didn't know the language.
Exactly, and that's rough on anybody. As a 19-year-old, that's incredibly rough. But I think that his game hasn't developed as much. Yeah, he was at like 13, 6, and 3, I think was his stat line average last year. But he was only shooting 36% from the field, 31% from 3. And honestly, I think that it's just going to come down to he's not going to continue developing. I think that what we see out of him now is what he's going to be. He's going to be a low teen scorer. He's going to get you just over like between 5 and 7 assists a game. And that's it. He's not a spectacular stud. I saw highlights from him in high school. I saw highlights from him overseas, and he looked like a stud. He looked like he would absolutely come in this league and be game changing. And in the NBA, I have been disappointed. Whether it's he doesn't have the same spark or the same quickness necessarily, but it's the guys around him that make the biggest difference too.
Well, and I look at this team, and the one draft class I can't help but think about is the Gary Harris draft class. Because that was the year. Maybe I think about that because that draft class is linked with my Bulls. It's linked with Dougie McBuckets.
Yeah.
Well, I should say our Bulls. I'm sorry, Dave. I'll include you. Our Bulls.
We both play on the Bulls.
Yeah. I mean, bench players. I mean, I don't get many minutes, but I mean, I can throw down.
I think we both decide we're all equal to Kyle Singler.
Yeah.
When it comes to NBA level talent,
I could throw down if you need me to, but the kind of just that draft class of, I think those players that they traded, and Gary Harris is the guy I'm putting ahead of that because he was the highly ranked one coming out of that draft class for the Nuggets. And maybe this year you need to step up because they could have taken a guy like Dougie McBuckets and just had him, but they drafted him, traded him for the Bulls to get more picks from the Bulls.
Gary Harris is better than Doug McBuckets. I don't know what you're talking about. Dude is shooting 46% from the field, and I think he just needs to continue growing. I don't see him having a problem. Like his minutes jumped. He went from 13 minutes to 32 minutes. His shooting percentage better. That's a good sign. Like when you see players who like are about the same across the board. It's just increase in minutes equals increase in like points, and it's like an even 1-to-1. Like that's I think Isaiah Thomas had where you knew like there was something good about him because it didn't change. It didn't change the way he played the game, that he got more time. He wasn't. A lot of the time with bench players, they're greedy because they want their chance.
Yeah.
They know they have a limited opportunity. Let
me put it this way. Like last year was the year for Gary Harris where he made that jump from 13 to 32. This is the year where I need to see, can you be that guy where I look at that position and I go to the Nuggets? Okay, they're good. They're solid. I need that last
he will be the staple at that position for the next couple of years.
Of progression.
Okay.
To put you into that spot of, cool, you're a solidified starter on this team.
And he does have a lot of room to improve still. I'm not saying like he's a bona fide, like legit stud at shooting guard.
But on my end, I could see it kind of sounded like I was kind of writing him off a little bit.
Yeah, where?
And I wasn't trying to do that. It was just one of those things where I just need to, I want to see
I think Gary Harris is their
more.
guy. I think he's their guy at shooting guard. I don't think they have anything to worry about there.
Because, I mean, I look at the draft class and it was, I'm trying to find the other two. I mean, Dougie was the one that they traded to the Bulls. They had Jokic, who, I mean, we hear so much in the comment section from Nugget fans about Jokic. But then I think, when's that going to turn into? Like, when's it going to turn into something?
Yeah.
Is this team missing the right head coach? Which, I mean, to speak about Mike Malone, I don't think... I said at the beginning, like, oh, this could be the year he gets fired, but the only reason I would think that is because bad teams usually stay in that cycle of, oh, we're not winning, we need a new coach. Oh, we're not winning, we need a new coach. And they just continue that cycle.
They churn over.
However, I look at what he did before Denver, and I can't blame him for his time in Sacramento because he went 28-54 year one. That was 2013-2014. And then 24 games into 14-15, he gets canned by the Kings.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that's a shit situation. And we all know
Probably for the better for him, though.
The little boogie asterisks that you can put
absolutely.
next to that, because then Corbin took over, but then got quickly replaced by George Karl, who's now replaced by Jaeger. See that cycle? It's still continuing to go there in Sacramento.
And that's why they've got 5 centers in Sacramento.
And that's why...
They don't know what they're doing.
And that's why Denver, it's like...
But you want to push that shooting guard position because your boy is riding the pine pony right now.
Well, yeah, my boy.
Jamal Murray.
Well,
give us your thoughts.
That's the thing. And here's the thing. I'm looking... If you look at Real GM, I believe they have him as a shooting guard.
They do.
But if you look at ESPN's depth
he's a
chart,
point.
He's a point guard.
Yeah.
And that's one of the beautiful things is he's so diverse. I think they play him more as a point guard. And the reason why I say that
But they got Jameer Nelson.
But they got Will Barton. So is he going to be the third shooting guard or the third point guard? I think he's both. It's going to be interesting with Jamal Murray because they're so...
You think I know the shooting is different, but like Jordan Clarkson, where he has that ability to go back and forth, he can be your primary ball handler, but he's better as a two-man.
Yeah, that's exactly because you think about who did he have as his point in Kentucky last year? Tyler Ulis.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Yeah, Tyler Ulis.
You know my feelings about Tyler Ulis.
He's the fucking point guard. Let Jamal Murray and the Blue Arrow kind of shoot from the outside. I'm more confident in Jamal Murray shooting from the outside.
Yeah.
He's just got to hit those shots.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. He gets hot. He's hot. Mm-hmm. But he's got to get it going early in the season.
Before we get into the closing this up, any final thoughts on this division that you think we missed?
No, I feel like we gave everybody their fair chance, and we're gonna see some interesting things happen with Minnesota trying to jump teams, and I feel like Utah gonna jump a team. But at the end of the day, it's still OKC. Like the loss to KD, the loss of a top 5 player in the league, and they're still gonna win this. Absolutely, they're gonna win.
Now to hit you with the hard question to close it out.
Yeah.
Possible playoff teams from this division. Who do you see getting in? We've done it for every division.
It's
what teams do you see getting in the playoffs?
It's going to be OKC, Utah, and Portland. I got Minnesota a year out. I got Denver 2 years out tops. I don't think I want to see more from Denver still. I think they're going to be bottom of this division this time around. Minnesota, right direction, just 1 year away.
At the moment, and I got to put a little disclaimer because the NFL fans didn't really get this. Until the regular season starts, you can make amendments to kind of predictions and stuff. And
Fair enough. Hold them to it.
This is early. This is like not even this isn't even the hold us to them.
Yeah.
Right now, I want to lean towards 4 teams. I want to lean towards 4. I want to lead towards Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
Portland.
Yeah.
Minnesota and Utah. All 4 of them getting in.
But that Minnesota team.
I think what we could see right now, I'm thinking 4 from the Northwest, 2 from the Pacific, 2 from the Southwest.
Wow.
That means 2 teams between Dallas, Memphis, and Houston don't make the playoffs this year. Wow. Not going to say who, because I don't know who, and I don't want to think about it and talk through it, but that's what I'm thinking right now. I think I'm going to go 4 teams from the Northwest. King of the North, Dave.
Bold choice.
King of the North.
King of the
North. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know down below in the comment section what you guys think of this division. What do you think about any of our teams?
Is it still weird that OKC's in the Northwest? Like, I just want to toss it out there. Come on, Seattle.
They should be in the Southwest.
Can we rebalance that? Is that a thing?
You know what I really think? I think the NBA should do an NHL type
only conferences, no divisions.
Well, not just that, but they did a just rehash where they just went, here's the new divisions, and that moved Detroit from the West to the East.
Oh, I know, and that didn't sit right with everybody.
I did one of those. I'll be honest. I did one of those. I didn't put it to paper, but I think. Fuck it. I think I may do it for the website because there were some fun things where you could move teams from the East to the West to make some interesting rivalries. But yeah, the OKC should not be they shouldn't be in the Northwest anymore unless they're going to go back to Seattle.
We want one more team in Seattle.
Unless we could.
We need to balance it out. Let's add another team in the East. Give it to some random city.
In the Northwest, you mean? Like give the Northwest some random city?
No, I'm just saying we need an extra, team in each, You gotta keep it balanced. You can't have an odd number of teams.
Well, we gotta move on, and this is you guys tell us down below what you guys think of your favorite teams if they're in this division. If not, and you just love the NBA, let us know what you know down below in the comment section as well.